A one and a two and a chick-a-boom a chick.
Before I tell you what we're going to get into today, right before I clicked the record button, I was inspired to share this with you. You're probably a remodeler listening to this. You are maybe driving around. You're probably going throughout your day. Maybe you're working and you're listening to this. I want you to listen to what I'm going to say next and then stop and actually do it. If you follow my content for a while, you know that I'm about implementation. I want you to implement the ideas that you hear and learn. Here's just a quick kind of just do it marketing item. I want you to send a text message to a previous client. I want you to send a text message to a previous client just to let them know you're thinking about them and appreciate them. You wouldn't be in business without your previous clients. / your previous clients are the best source of repeat work and referral work. Keep that in mind. So send a text message. Who comes to mind when I say previous client that you could shoot a quick note to just to let them know you're thinking about them, appreciate them? Who comes to mind? Think about it. And then pause this, pull over if you're driving, and text them. And let me know how that goes. Today in the recording, you're going to hear Bryan Kaplan and I. Bryan is a fellow coach consultant in the contracting industry. And at the International Builder Show, he set up a little video camera. We went into a hallway, we put on some microphones, and we recorded a video. You're going to hear the audio version of that. And what we get into are the top 10 things you need to be doing during the initial phone call with a new remodeling prospect. You just wing every new initial call you have, or do you have a system that you follow? There's 10 solid ideas. He shares his insights. I share my insights. I'm a little uncomfortable, especially at the start, because we're standing really close to one another to record this. It was a little bit of a different experience, but I am convinced that you will hear a reminder or a fresh idea or a new take on this important topic, and that you, like I was getting at earlier, are going to find something to implement. Enjoy the recording, and thank you for listening.
Hey everybody, Bryan Kaplan here again and shooting live from IBS 2020. I'm honored to have Kyle Hunt here with me from Remodel Your Marketing. Kyle here is going to really unpack 10 real sort of behavioral things that we want to pay attention to in our sales process. I think a lot of people don't do these things on a regular basis, or at least not all of them. And Kyle and I thought this would be really great to shoot this short video and kind of go through these. So first and foremost, Kyle, thanks for joining me today. Appreciate it.
You bet. I've already messed up. I've already been looking at that instead of looking at that. So I'm going to look at the camera even though I can see it. And the fact that you said honored, I feel like that also put pressure on me. But we'll make it work.
I put you up there. So now you got to live up to the people's expectations.
All right, I can do it.
Awesome. So why don't you kick off with a little short bio about yourself and what you do and
Sure.
all that.
So I flew into Vegas today. I'm speaking tomorrow. I flew in from Michigan. Kind of born and raised in Michigan. Started my business, Remodel Your Marketing, 12 years ago, which has flown by.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's flown by. So shortly after I quit my job working for a remodeler, I started doing coaching and business coaching for remodelers, and I've been doing that for 12 years. So my clients and my guys and gals are doing kitchens, baths, additions, and we're focused on the marketing plan, the sales process, and just helping them understand their financials. Yeah. So there might even be a little overlap in what we do.
Yeah, sure.
But I look at it as there's plenty of people who need help, and there's only so many of us beautiful people.
Yeah, for sure.
Enough to go around.
Yeah, ironically enough, I have a client that lives probably, 10 miles from you, 10,
really?
15, 20 miles
we'll
from you,
talk about
that. So, and they probably never heard of you, because that just shows you how big the world is. So, awesome. Well, cool. So let's, why don't we just go through these 10 points here and really talk about, the big thing is in the sales process is, we get that sort of 7 seconds to impress somebody, right? That first touch is really kind of what we're going to talk about today. Yep. So why don't we just break into kind of what it is? I think, our first thing is, you talked about when a lead comes in, maybe it's a phone call or an online, request or something like that. What are kind of the first things we want to be paying attention to?
Sure. Can I consult my cheat sheet?
Of course, yes.
That's what cheats first.
That's what cheats.
We prepared. We have all of the answers here. This initial phone call, I think it is underappreciated, undervalued. This is our first opportunity to get to know them. It's about building know, like, and trust. And what I see often, so the first thing is, instead of pulling out a blank sheet of paper, and even though you have questions because you've been doing it a number of years, pulling out a blank sheet of paper and trying to remember it is not a good idea. Pull out a project discovery sheet. Pull out some kind of lead sheet that reminds you of the questions you want to ask and walk them through that process. So that's step number one. Is that.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I'm going to build on that and say that one of the biggest things that I always talk about with all of you, of course, is we want to qualify people as well, right? It's not just that when the phone rings, we're going to do every single job. And, to Kyle's point, you need to have a sheet there that has those qualifying questions, right? That we know we're going to ask, and they're going to give us the kind of that, critical decision making. Yep. This is the type of person that I want to work with. Because let's be honest, not every client is an ideal client for a remodeler. I think you and I could commiserate on that over many, many beers. Yep. So, what's the second thing? What's the
second thing? Is be 100% focused on the car. On the call, I should say. I was thinking about car. I was thinking about truck. It is arguably one of the most important parts of the entire sales process, and oftentimes, and I'm empathetic to it, like we're driving around, there's a lot to do, but you need to be 100% focused on the car. On the call, you can hear through the phone if somebody's distracted, if somebody's doing something else. And we want to just make sure there's no distractions, we're 100% into it, we're 100% focused, because it matters, and it really will set that groundwork of what doing business with you is going to be like. Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing I've always used to say is don't let your busyness, don't let a client see your busyness through your interaction with them. And so whether it's actually a first touch or even a client in general, that's kind of a great thing. And one other little thing I'll add here, not affiliated with them, but I think it's a really great thing, is that Ruby Receptionist, is that call service that, I think when we answer the phone, and you sound rushed and hurried and bothered, that sets a really awful kind of first touch with somebody. And having something like a platform, you guys can go check it out online. I won't go into it too much detail here, but I think that's something that could really benefit people as well. Something to look into for sure.
And then, so set the expectation. So let's talk about that.
So I would say most homeowners think they're going to call you. It's going to be a 2-minute call. They're going to say, I'm looking to do a kitchen remodel. When can you come out? That's what their expectation is. And we need to set an expectation that, do you have 10 or 15 minutes to talk? There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to get to know about them, about their project, about your process, about your business, about talking in depth about the project that you have. If you tell somebody, hey, do you have a minute to talk? Yeah, I got a minute. That's fine. But when you say, do you have 10 minutes to talk? That's different. That's different. And it's important to do that. What I typically see, and over the years I've seen it, is a remodeler will come or a contractor will say, I'm always competing on price. And a lot of times one of the questions I like to ask is, how long is your initial phone call with a new prospect? And inevitably, the people competing on price will say, 2 minutes? 2 minutes, I'm just getting to know them, I'm setting up the appointment. You've got to protect your most valuable asset, which is your time. And that initial phone call, you do have to qualify is not a bad word. It's something we have to work on and we have to get better at.
Yeah, for sure.
I keep going like this because we're so close. But I'll keep in frame here. All right.
Yeah, no, I think you raised some really great points there, and ultimately that first call, you really have to evaluate, and you can't evaluate in 2 minutes whether someone's a good fit. And I think, I just did Spencer Powell's seminar here at IBS, and one of the things he talks about is often we'll look at leads as like tire kickers, but those are those long tail leads. They could be great leads. We just haven't given them a chance to kind of develop. It's like a seed doesn't sprout overnight, right? It has to get, it has to sprout and then get, its root set and things like that. So, so I think that's a really important point that you brought up. What's the next one?
Can I combine 4 and 5?
Yes.
4 and 5. One is ask a lot of questions about their project. Really work to get a picture in your head. So I'm thinking kitchen remodel. And if you've been doing remodeling for a while, if you ask enough questions, you're going to have a picture in your head of what this project looks like, the age of the home, are we moving walls, is the plumbing moving, and just really get to know their project. One is nobody else is doing that. Nobody else is asking those questions, showing that interest, but it leads into number 5, which is once you have a clear picture in your head of what that project looks like, there's other projects you've done that start to come to mind. There's also kind of a ballpark price range that's probably starting to come to your head. Not always, but if it's a kitchen, if it's a bathroom, chances are it is. And at that point, you can do number 5, which is, how much are you guys looking to invest in this project? Oh, hang on. We're pausing for effect. And then we zip our lips. How much are you looking to invest in this project? And then, shh, quiet. Let them answer. A lot of times they will answer with What?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's why I'm calling you.
Yeah.
But that's where, when you have a picture in your head and kind of a ballpark range, you can say, well, based on my years of experience, based on kind of the project you're talking about, there's several projects that we've done that are coming to mind. You're going to be anywhere from 40,000 to 70,000. That's a big range.
Yeah.
And even after you deliver that, 40,000 to 60,000, that's another time to, because you're going to either hear, oh, what? Oh man, we were thinking 20,000, we were thinking 15, or yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking. Either way, we're going to go into education mode. We're going to go into explaining why that is. That's a big step that a lot of my remodelers have gotten to. It's a confidence thing.
Yeah.
Once you start asking that, getting that out there, all of a sudden you're like, man, why haven't I done this before?
Yeah.
So that's 4 is ask a lot of questions. 5 is ask their budget. What's the worst that can happen? They respond with, I don't know.
Or they give you something, they start negotiating with you right there and then.
Yeah.
And the reality is that one of the things that I talk about with my clients as well is you can feel free to ask that question. It's a great question. It's a good sort of litmus test, barometer check, and all of that. But sometimes it's more about the way they respond and then the actual number or the actual words that they use when they respond to you. If someone is open and honest, that tells you a bit more of who they are as a person, and is this going to be the type of person I want to get into a relationship with? Because let's face it, you're in this temporary, kind of relationship with somebody when you're working with them, and sometimes it's with multiple people, right? If there's partners involved and things like that. So that's a really great point. I'm glad you brought that up. All right, so number 6.
Number 6.
Yeah.
Number 6 is something I'm going to be talking about at the Remodeling Central tomorrow morning, which is really getting clear with 5 powerful words to share with the remodeling process, which is, this is how we work. Really laying out what your process is. Every remodeler, every contractor, you guys listening and gals listening, you have a process. And probably 8 out of 10 times that process is right here. Sometimes it comes out and you kind of explain it, but very rarely do I see it actually written out. Just step by step. And homeowners are confused what the process looks like. They've got HGTV in their head. They think it's going to be $10,000. They think it's going to be 5 days. We need to educate them. So number 6 on the initial phone call is taking your time to go through and talk about what your process is like.
Yeah, it's such an important thing. And actually yesterday in my tech talk here at IBS, I used Trello as the tech sort of thing that I was going to feature. And I brought up a board that people were taking pictures of. I mean, everybody had their phone up in a room of 250 people. It was, how do you get that from that first lead to pass that in-person meeting and just the steps involved. And really, I think the first thing I would say is if you don't have a process, go and download Trello, or you don't have to download it, just go and sign up for a free account and start mapping it out. It's just a digital digital sticky note type of platform, and start mapping out the steps that you see in that process. And then, being able to explain it to somebody is so important.
Yeah. How did your talk go on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being pitiful, 10 being most amazing session at IBS? I
think it was really great. It's a condensed version of a great tech talk that I give, and I think that I hit a lot of really great points. They put me up though against someone talking about Instagram right beside me. This tech talk this year was 2 people on the same stage and noise canceling headphones on all the attendees. So
interesting.
So I think I had some competition, but I think.
So what number was it?
Which number was what? Sorry.
1 to 10. 10 being phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I'd say I'm going to give it an 8 only because talk was great. They told everybody it's a golf clap, so I got a great golf clap in my opinion, and then my counterpart finished about 10 seconds later, and she told them to give her a really
raucous,
raucous clap, and everyone turned their head and thought, well, what did I miss?
8 out of 10 is not bad.
Yeah, but I thought the talk went well. So.
Okay, good.
Cool. All right, so number 7.
Number 7.
Yeah.
Track how they found you. So when we have this initial phone call, we need to be saying, how did you hear about us? And we need to be tracking that. I'm doing a marketing course training program right now, and the first place we're going is go through 2019. How many leads did you generate? Where did those leads come from? What was your closing percentage by lead source? When you start to look at that and understand that, it helps you make better marketing decisions. It helps you invest those marketing dollars. So we need to be making sure on every call that we're asking that and that we're tracking that. I don't care if it's a spreadsheet. I don't care if it's a written out sheet of paper where your tally marks next to the different ways people find you. I don't care if it's a fancy CRM system. We need to be tracking that. That's number 7.
Such a great point. And I'm going to talk about the second part. And what I talk about with my remodelers and renovators in Canada, we call them renovators. In the States, we call them remodelers. Is don't deepen the hole. And let me tell you what I mean by that. What I mean is that just like you said, you don't care if it's a piece of paper, if it's an Excel spreadsheet, if you happen to have a CRM, fantastic. It doesn't really matter. Just start today. Start recording that today. Don't worry so much about what's happened already. Like, if you have those metrics, fantastic. We can learn so much from the data, and that's the message there, is that we're going to learn from that data. Yep. We're going to understand where our efforts are better placed. But from a functional behavioral standpoint, what I want everyone to do is just start. You have to start somewhere. So that's as you were talking, I was just thinking about the people writing it down in a notebook. That's great. Just start collecting that data.
Yep. What gets measured gets improved. You start measuring that, you're going to improve.
Right. And the other one that I say is you can't track what you don't or you can't measure what you don't track.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go. See. Different lens.
There's just too much brilliance coming from the two of us. I don't know what people are going to do.
I know. We can turn the lights off because we're just glowing with information here.
We are.
All right, number 8.
Number 8 is between that. Let's say the first call goes well, and you're setting up an in-person meeting. Make sure there is a professional email going out between that initial phone call and the in-person meeting. Doesn't have to be crazy, but hey, so looking forward to seeing you on Thursday at 2 o'clock. Here's our website, review this, here's our process again, here's what to expect at the first meeting. It is a nice little step in between that differentiates you, that starts to build more know, like, and trust. And also, it just shows them, man, these guys are organized. They've got a process, which is what we want our prospect to see and experience.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're doing stuff like this, you're literally not competing with people, because very few people have these types of processes in place, and very few people are really consistent in kind of doing that. And really, ultimately, what it comes down to is we want to just stay in front of that person. We want to stay relevant to them, because chances are they are researching other firms, depending on where they are in their funnel and their journey and all of that kind of thing. But we want to be able to differentiate ourselves. It is oftentimes we hear it's a red bloody ocean in the remodeling and renovating space. How do we differentiate ourselves in the market? So yeah, I think that's a great point as well.
Cool.
All right, cool. Number 9.
Number 9 says always seek to improve the initial phone call. And I guess what I'm saying about that is it's underappreciated, undervalued. When you can really dial that in, when you've practiced it, when you've gotten better at it, it just makes a huge difference. So number 9 is really go back and listen maybe to what we've just covered, 1 through 8. There's good tips, there's practical tips, there's things you can actually do and implement. And number 9 is find one of those and implement it. Continue to work on improving this. You should be better now than you were 6 months ago at this initial phone call.
Yeah, for sure. And it really comes back to, not being able to measure what you track kind of thing. So in other words, take stock of the things that happen. One of the things I get my consulting clients to do is to write down the key phrases, the words, the verbatim that people give you when you're on the phone with them, because the information about how to market to them, it's coming out of their mouths, essentially. And we can guess at what the marketing should be, but really people are telling it to us. So that's one of the biggest things is you just, as Kyle said, you want to improve on that. And I'm gonna extend this for your whole business. And I'm going to say, whether it's the numbers or it's your sales process, your project management, your HR processes, whatever it is, think about it, interviews, for example. What questions do you ask in interviews? What ones work, which ones don't, kind of thing. The people that you ask certain questions to that are really great people that work in your company, what was common about it, kind of thing. So really kind of evaluating all that data. So the main thing is, like I said a moment ago, is collect all that data. Just start at any point and start collecting it, but constantly be iterating, right? And learning and improving.
Love it.
Cool.
And then number 10, I got to memorize. I don't have to look down.
Amazing.
It is at the end of every call, and I could pull this out just like you did in other areas of business, but in particular on the initial phone call, at the end of the call, if you take 2 minutes, and just think about what worked, what didn't work. What worked, what didn't work.
Yeah.
You think about what didn't work, you're like, man, they just said they couldn't meet on Thursday because they had a kid's soccer game. I didn't even ask them about that. Like I could have, what grade are they in? Build some relationship. Or, you know what, we just moved here last year, we bought this house. Sometimes we just plow right through that instead of looking at it as an opportunity of, where did you move from?
Yeah.
Who knows? All of a sudden they grew up in the same town you did. You know Mike and I know Mike, and all of a sudden we just built some relationship through that.
Yeah.
So look at what worked, what didn't work. Man, I rushed through the process. Or, you know what, I was really focused. That really worked on this. I was really tuned in. I heard everything they said. So if you take the time to do a what worked, what didn't work at the end of the initial call, and then to pull this out at the end of every job you do, you can't help but get better.
Absolutely. I mean, and you just have to be able to look in the mirror. And I think that's one of the big things that I talk about. Every presentation I give, I have this one slide in there that just talks about how business owners tend to be the ones in the way of their own success. And it's a guy looking in the mirror, and it's really such an impactful thing, because I think, ultimately we really are in the way of our own success. If we're not looking at what we're doing, we're not being able to reflect and see how we can iterate and become better, then, I ultimately think that, you're really hampering your efforts, right? So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of sum it up. I wrote down 4 when we talked all about this a little while ago. I thought about 4 real big picture points. So the big picture for me is that leads are really fantastic, but without a process, being able to kind of walk somebody, it's why I ask everybody, what's your process? Tell me what it takes to take a stranger to a paying client. What is that whole process? And that Trello board I talked about. So, really kind of having that process in place. If you don't have it right now, go and open up a free account in Trello and start just mapping it out, or open up your notebook, as Kyle would say, anywhere. It doesn't really matter. Right. Let's just start. Let's stop deepening that hole. The other one I really love is be present. One of the things that I do in my sales scripts, that for both the in-person and the initial phone call, is I have a list of basically behavioral things that I want you to do. Where you hold things in your hand, right, when you get to someone's door, the eye contact, all the different little things. So, and when you're on a call and you're on the highway and people are honking, roll up your windows and put your climate control on, right? Be present.
Or pull over.
Or pull over. Yeah, that's a better one. Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I'm so conditioned to seeing everyone do videos on LinkedIn and Instagram while they're driving. Anyway, so really just remember that you will reflect what you're feeling. So don't let clients see your busyness through that. So as Kyle said, pull over, roll up your windows, climate control on, and pull out your discovery sheet. Have a copy, whether it's a notebook or it's on your phone or whatever it is, have something so that you can go through that systemized process. Remember that deals are kind of started in those sales calls, those initial leads, but really you develop them in the follow-ups. And I love that, I call it adjoining tasks, or connecting tasks. So between the different milestones in the sales process, what are those connecting tasks between it? So you mentioned that professional email, which is fantastic, and I encourage all of my clients to do that. It's a follow-up. It's a way to build that, like, know, and trust, to build that and develop that relationship, which I think is fantastic. And the final thing, I look at a lot of websites, as I'm sure you do, and we talk with a lot of different builders out there, and this is a bit off topic, but really, sell the future. Don't sell the features. And when we talk about differentiating ourselves in the marketplace, what we want to do is build that relationship with someone and really speak to the emotional drivers, because that's when people purchase, is on that emotional sort of basis. We do not, logic does not work. When we talk about being the best in our region and that we deliver on time and budget, yes, those are important drivers, but those have an emotional connection. And really what you want to do is get to that emotional level and really connect with people. So I think we've thrown a lot of content at you. I hope that I'm not going to rapid fire and make you try to...
Can I wrap up 2 things?
Yes, please do. Yeah, go ahead.
So one is, again, this initial phone call is underappreciated, and we don't put enough effort into it. Rewind the tape, listen to that, start implementing some of these things. And then the second thing is actually about this video recording. So this is new for me.
Yeah.
Like literally being this close and doing an interview. I've never done an interview that close. It's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's interesting where we're doing it. Like there's so much value in just doing, and it's interesting. I've gotten more comfortable as this little interview went on, where at first I think I was putting my hands up here. I'm like, that doesn't work. Yeah. I was looking at here versus here. Then I realized I'm standing like this. I need to stand like this. Things are uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the more comfortable it gets.
100%.
And I think the initial calls like that, anything in your business is like that. So, do it, get the reps in, be brave to ask that tough question of what's your budget? Because the more you do that, now I'm more comfortable, I'm more free, and the next time it's going to be better. Same thing with initial call.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great point, and I think the biggest thing is you just have to start. I think ideas are great, but action is really everything. So you kind of got to crack into it. So, cool. I want to thank you for taking time out of your journey here at IBS. Unfortunately, this isn't going live before then, so I can't plug your talk that you're giving.
But mine's going to be a 9 out of 10.
His is going to be, maybe even higher. You never know. You'll be the only one in the room, so you don't have to compete with anybody.
True.
So don't sell yourself short.
Okay.
That's another thing that I always tell my builders is aim higher.
There you go.
But Kyle, thanks again for joining me. Everybody, I hope that you found a lot of value in what we talked about today. If you don't have a process, you need to map it out. Go back and look at those 10 points and really sort of evaluate which ones you're doing, which ones you aren't doing. And I think really biggest picture point here I would say is that you just have to start. no matter where you are in that journey, just start doing these things, and you don't have to do all 10 of them at once. Just start adding them and layering them in. So again, thanks everybody for joining and listening in, and we will catch you on the next episode.
This is something I'm very excited to tell you about. It's called Remodelers Autopilot. If you go to Remodelers with an S at the end, remodelersautopilot.com, you will see all of the details on this. Your most valuable marketing asset is your previous client list. These are the people that already have know, like, and trust with you. They are your biggest source for new project leads, for referrals to their friends and families. It's important. And so often we are doing squat, zip, zilch, nada to stay in touch with our previous clients. Remodelers Autopilot was designed specifically for remodelers who are doing kitchens, bathrooms, additions, that type of work, as a very, very easy, turnkey, affordable, simple, excellent way for you to consistently stay in touch with your previous clients with a done-for-you email newsletter and done-for-you social media posts. It's $1 to try it out for the first month and only $125 a month thereafter. And it just works. I've been doing this for all of my remodeling clients for years, and it just works. It's solid, and it solves this problem of not staying in touch with your previous clients. Give it a look, remodelersautopilot.com. Fill out the little form, and we'll talk more.